Okay, I'm calling this video filling in for Victor Wooten, which would be a huge task, probably for mostly any kind of musician. So, and if you don't know who Victor Wooten is, he's one of the most incredible bass players and really nice guy. I feel extremely lucky and grateful to have gotten to know him, and I'll explain the story of how this happened. It's a pretty wacky story. It goes back to 1987. I graduated from college in 1987 with a engineering degree, and I've always loved music. I've always played in bands, guitar and bass, and I owe a big thanks to my brother John, who's a incredible keyboard player, who actually he was kind of inspired me to audition at a theme park that's nearby Cleveland. There's a park called Cedar Point. They're in Sandusky, Ohio, and my brother John had played there for a number of years in various shows, and every time I went and saw him, I was just always thinking to myself, that looks like the ultimate summer job. That's like the ultimate, gig, really. You're doing, fun shows. You're, just getting a lot of time in on your instrument, whatever. So long story short, after John was doing that for a while, I thought, I'm gonna audition at Cedar Point. What was really funny was I auditioned on the very absolute last day of auditions. It was in like January or something of 1987, and it was at Cedar Point. They had gone around to colleges and done auditions at colleges, but they had the final audition day was right at Cedar Point in this building there. And I remember really clearly I skipped classes, probably the only time I ever skipped classes in college. And we drove out to Sandusky, and it was kind of snowing. It was kind of surreal to be going to a theme park, that you would normally go to in the summer when the weather's sunny and warm and everything. We're driving to Cedar Point in almost a snowstorm. It almost seemed like. So anyways, I auditioned on a guitar and bass. I brought my acoustic guitar and my jazz bass that I've been playing. I'm going to do a video about that bass. I've had that thing since 1978 or 79. It goes back a long ways. But anyways, I auditioned, and I remember I was able to play some stuff that I guess the audition person liked. They put some sheet music in front of me that I kind of fumbled through. I did not do well with that at all. But I guess I played well enough for them to think, that I was, good enough to be considered for a show. So they had me. They took photos, and they took down some information. And my brother said, "Hey, that's a good sign. It means they're considering you for a show." So I thought, great. Then a couple months later, I get a rejection letter. Thanks for auditioning, but we've picked our cast. We wish you the best. So I thought, okay, that's the end of that route. And then a really amazing thing happened. Probably one of the luckiest things that's probably ever happened to me was during final exam week in college. I got a phone call from another theme park, Busch Gardens in Williamsburg, Virginia. And they had called the Cedar Point and said, "Hey, we need some bass players for some shows. Who do you have on your alternate list or whatever?" And my name and contact information got passed down to Busch Gardens. And I remember all the details. I remember it was Sean Murray that called me and said, "We need some bass players. Can you send us an audition tape and a resume?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I had my brother John play a bunch of stuff on piano. I played bass along with him, did a really quick demo tape, sent him a resume of stuff I had done, some bands I'd been in, some musical productions. And then they called me up and said, "Yeah, we want to hire you. We have this Italian opera show. We got this country show." And I said, "Man, if you could put me in the country show, that'd be awesome, And they said, "Yeah, we got this bass player in the show. He's really good, but we want to move him to this newer show, and you're going to take his spot." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." That bass player was Victor Wooten that I took the spot of, which it kind of blows my mind when I think about it now. But I got down there first day when I arrived, and the show had already been going on. I got there like in June. The park opened up like in I forget when. It had been open. The show had been going on. The lineup was Victor Wooten on bass, his brother Roy, Future Man, on drums, his other brother Joseph on keyboards, and then this guitar player Dave Beverly. Dave, if you're watching this, hey. So anyways, I get down there and I'm watching Victor Wooten play, and he is phenomenal. Like, I've never seen a guy play bass like this before. And they did a band feature song, and he did this amazing solo, and I was like really blown away, and I'm amazed that, you know, they had hired me to take this guy's spot. But he was really nice, you know, really cool. He, you know, gave me a tape of the show and said, you know, here's a show. I pretty much learned it on the tape. He was doing some tapping on some songs, which that was when I first started, you know, playing around with the tapping on the bass and all that. So, anyways, so had a couple, you know, rehearsals with that band, and then they put him into this other show. It was like a newer show, doing like a top 40 and pop songs and stuff. And then I was doing, you know, the show that he had been in, which was country. It was called the Girls' Night Out. It was all country hits by female singers, and there were three singers in the band, and then I was playing bass, and then there was a guitar player, and originally Joseph Wooten was on keyboards, which was incredible. He later left the show because he joined a top 40 band, and then we had a different keyboard player. But anyways, it was just really, when I think about it now, probably one of the luckiest things. And there's a lot of other stories that I'll tell. This is kind of just the story about filling in for Victor Wooten or whatever, you know, taking his spot in a show. But there's a lot of stories that led to a lot of other, you know, cool stories that I want to share. So I'm going to do that in some other videos. And I'm going to put a link in this video of a video I found of that country show the previous summer, 1986. And it is unreal. It's pretty much all the Wooten brothers in the show, Reggie, Roy, Joseph, and Victor, and then two singers. And the whole show is just incredible, and there's a lot of solos, and there's just a lot of great musicianship and everything. So I'll put a link to that video in the description of this one. So definitely check that out, and thanks for watching. Bye.